Hello, MDF fans. This is Josh Stern,
It's Brian Dunn.
and we are recording this message as an add-on to our Veterans Day episode, which we weren't organized enough to release in time for Veterans Day, but we figured that we were releasing it now in advance of this week, which is, of course, Pearl Harbor Day.
Pearl Harbor, of course, happened on December 7th, 1941. And so we wanted to honor veterans, but also honor that day with this very special episode.
We hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Hello.
Hello, what's up?
How we doing, Brian?
I'm good. How are you, Josh?
It's cold. It is cold
It
out
is
there.
cold, and I don't like it.
Florida
boy.
It's sports day today. I think athletes and mathletes. I'm, of course, the GOAT, Tom Brady.
I like to remind him that the 72 Dolphins are the only undefeated team in NFL history.
I believe the Patriots went 18-0 before they went 18-1.
It doesn't matter. You got to win the big dance. You got to win the Super Bowl.
That's true.
So,
That's fair.
perfect season. Only team.
This isn't going to become a sports debate because then it's going to go on forever. Welcome to Mostly Dead Folks, this is the history podcast of lives of the past and how we keep them alive today. I'm your co-host, Joshua Stern.
I'm Brian Dunn.
And this is episode 3.
Whew.
I know. Can't believe you haven't seen any other episodes yet, probably. But you will.
Coming.
You will
They're
soon.
coming.
And in honor of Veterans Day, which was just yesterday, Brian had the great idea to do sort of unsung heroes in American history.
Yep.
I guess world history. We didn't say American.
Yeah, history, because Veterans Day is after World War One. It used to be Armistice Day, so. But I think, did we go both American on this one?
I think we may have.
Okay.
Did you go American?
I'm a hometown hero.
There it is. There it is. So I guess, as always, we're going to spin.
Let that wheel decide.
Now, we have decided that if Brian loses again on the
Or
wheel,
wins.
or wins, either however you want
Yeah.
to say it, then we will next time. I would go, but let's see.
Please be Josh. We need a J.
And what do you know?
It's a J.
Ask and you shall
there you
receive. Okay, so unsung heroes. Now this is a hard thing because a truly unsung hero would be someone you can't research. He's some scrub in the trench who maybe, bandaged up one of his buddy's wounds and then died of sepsis, and no one's ever heard his name except that one guy. So I think there is the limitation here that unsung is within reason.
Okay.
So I think in that context, I chose the great Henry Johnson, the Harlem Hellfighter.
Okay.
Are you familiar?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe not as unsung.
I want to hear your details here,
So,
but I've heard the name.
Henry Johnson was part of the Harlem Hellfighters. They were the all-black fighting unit who went over with the American Expeditionary Force with General Pershing towards what became the end of World War I.
Yep.
The U.S. really helped take the ball over the line.
Mhm.
His nickname was Black Death.
Ooh.
Which, for Europeans was a real twist of the
Yes,
knife there.
yeah.
And what made him really notable is that he won the French's Medal of Honor, the Croix de Guerre. He fought off, they were in the Argonne Forest, and he fought off a German unit sustaining 20 different wounds, fought him off with a bolo knife in his bare fists at one point,
Wow.
killed supposedly 4 German soldiers, rescued his fellow Harlem Hellfighter, Needham Roberts, and somehow survived this. He received the Croix de Guerre as a acknowledgement of his bravery. But the reason I chose him as being sort of unsung is the context in which he's operating. Yeah. Because here's the French giving this man the highest medal that they can possibly bestow. And meanwhile, when he came back to the United States, he was discharged without disability pay. He was discharged without any kind of pay. And when he was 32 years old, he died, or 1929, when he was 32 years old, he died penniless and alone. Wow. So he was unsung at his time.
It's a good one.
It is. And I would say he's unsung too, because you have to think of the context too of not the contrast between how the American army treated him versus how the French army treated him. There's this document, maybe you're familiar, it's called the SICBAT, Secret Information Concerning Black American Troops. This was a letter that was essentially sent from General Pershing to the French military saying, hey guys, you're going to be interacting with these Black American troops. It's very important that you don't treat them too well. And I'm going to share for you. And so this is when your superiors are saying this. In spite of that, the amount of bravery that he had. So the quote from that report, one of the lines was, quote, The American point of view on the color question may seem strange to the Frenchman, but the French have no right to discuss what is known as prejudice. American opinion is unanimous upon the colored question and does not admit of discussion.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
it goes on and on.
I knew that was a thing,
Yeah,
and obviously the armed forces were heavily segregated
sure.
still through World War One. But I've never seen Pershing's take on it, so
Yeah,
that's
and
interesting.
it goes on about what they should and shouldn't do. So I think in the context of that, um, for Johnson to be able to fight so bravely, if not for his country, though it was for his country, for his fellow soldiers, French and otherwise,
Mhm.
and then to come home and get nothing but crap for it, to me makes him unsung. Now
Yeah,
he's less unsung today.
I was about to
Yes,
ask.
he is. He got a posthumous Medal of Honor from
Okay, good.
Obama
He
in
deserves it.
2015.
Definitely deserves it.
And in Fort Polk, which was named after a Confederate general, I believe in Louisiana, it was renamed for him in 2023. It has since been changed back to Fort Polk as
Oh,
part of the
really?
renaming under the Trump
Really?
administration. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So in some ways, unsung,
And then
sung, and now
back to
unsung
oh,
again,
jeez.
which in some ways is fairly appropriate. So I
Yeah.
go with the Harlem Hellfighter,
Okay.
the great Henry
That's
Johnson.
that's
That's
an
mine.
awesome pick
Well, thank you.
because when I always teach World War One, I always highlight the fact that again you do have these black soldiers that they're like you're not going to be fighting
Yeah,
with the Expeditionary
right.
Force, and the French were like we'll take
We'll
them,
take them
and
exactly.
not only did they take them, but they honored them because
Mhm.
they're like, and the sad thing with segregation at this time, and we see this also with World War Two, it's like they're fighting for freedom abroad, and
Mhm.
then they come back home and look at the situation that they're facing in terms
Absolutely.
of Jim Crow and whatnot. So
To our viewers, if you're interested in learning more about that, the Equal Justice Initiative has a whole extensive report that where I got a lot of this information from about not only Johnson but all of the troops who came back, and wearing the uniform, if you were black, was not seen as a sign of honor but as a sign of disrespect.
yeah,
And so many soldiers tragically were actually killed when they came back to America, having survived the war because they
wow,
dared to wear their uniform in
wow,
public.
that's a great pick.
Yeah.
Great pick. I
Thank you.
applaud you on that
Tip
one.
of the cap to you, my
Yes,
friend.
there
Thank
you
you. Thank
go.
you. All right, what you got?
So Josh, do you know
Tell me.
who is the first American woman to ever receive a wound in military service,
Hmm. Well,
or what war?
that's yeah. I wouldn't know a name. I would say I want to say the Revolutionary War, but
Yeah, yeah,
am I right?
you are right. But
Revolutionary War and the wound, maybe the Battle of Monmouth.
oh, okay. Oh, so you're thinking Molly Pitcher type
That's
stuff.
where I was
Okay.
at in the
Well,
brain.
Molly Pitcher, she was one of those camp followers, right? So we wouldn't count that. We're going full on
We're going full.
enlisted soldier. Let me tell you all about the story of Deborah Sampson.
Deborah
Deborah
Sampson.
Sampson.
Heard the name.
So she joined the war kind of relatively late, American Revolutionary War in 1781, 1782-ish, depending on where you get your information. And she disguised herself. So she went all full Mulan, for those of you that know the reference,
Full
or
Mulan.
Joan of Arc,
Yep.
whatever
Yep.
way you want to go.
Love Mulan.
And she dressed up as a man, to the point of even binding her chest
Wow.
so that she didn't,
Fit in.
show her feminine body. And she took on the persona of Robert Shirtliff.
Okay.
And she enlisted in a light infantry troop, which, if you know anything about light infantry, kind of the name, they go with fewer supplies, they have to move quickly,
Mhm.
they often go on very dangerous missions, so they're kind of like elite soldiers of their day. Um, and as part of this group, she really excelled under this persona of Robert Shirtliff. She would go on dangerous skirmishes with kind of a no man's land, unclaimed territory between loyalists and patriots.
Mhm.
Um, she would also take pride in the fact that before skirmishes or battles, she would go and actually survey the battlefield and then report back to her officers
It's like a
saying,
spy
"Hey,
almost.
yeah, basically as a spy," and then say, "Hey, I've checked out their formations, their movements, and we should attack them here.
Right.
We should attack them there." Um, and she was in several skirmishes, several battles. And again, being a woman, she had to kind of hide the fact
Mm.
that she was, one of the boys.
Mhm.
And so in one of the battles, she takes a sword wound to the head
Dang.
and she gets shot in the thigh. And you can see where I'm going with this.
Uh-huh.
She's her fellow soldiers are like, "We got to bring you to the hospital. You got to get checked out."
Uh-huh.
And she's like, "No, no, leave me. Like I'm fine. I'm fine."
Oh man.
She goes to the hospital. She gets attention for the forehead wound, and then as the doctor's probably about to prep her
Yeah.
to check out the thigh wound, she sneaks away, and this is showing true grit here. Sneaks away, takes out a penknife all on her lonesome, does surgery on herself to kind
Digs
of
out the
remove
ball.
remove the musket ball the best she can. She doesn't do the best job because for the rest of her life she is going to be suffering from these war wounds, and sews herself up. Now, goes on back to being a regular soldier. Towards the end of the war, though, she comes down with a fever, gets
Mhm.
very sick, goes to a military hospital. A doctor by the name of Dr. Barnabas Binney
No, no, no,
is.
no, hang on. Dr. Barnabas Binney?
Yes, I
That's
know.
not real.
It sounds like he is selling you some snake oil, but just go with it. So
Barnabas
Dr.
Binney.
Binney is checking her out, and
Mhm.
as part of, his examination, he undoes her shirt and goes,
Oh, something going on here.
this is a woman.
Uh-huh.
And instead of like calling her out or like saying, hey, I need
Yeah.
attention and ratting her out, he brings her to his personal house, has his wife and children take care of her
Wow.
till she recovers, and then says, hey, I know your secret. You need to kind of let
Mhm.
your higher authorities, the officers,
Yeah.
know. He sends a note with her and basically says, hey, this is a
This is a
woman.
woman.
She hands it off and she's like,
I'm
now
not.
my secret's out.
Mhm.
They're gonna punish me because you could be criminally punished back then, believe it or not, for
Uh-huh.
impersonating a man. I'm gonna be punished in some way. Instead, her commanding officer gives her an honorable discharge and
Wow.
says, he's not angry, but he's shocked and
Sure.
he's amazed that for 2 years you
Yeah.
kept the secret
It's
and you
incredible. He
fought
fought so hard,
bravely.
yeah.
And so anyway, Deborah Sampson, pretty important figure,
That's incredible.
and again, definitely unsung. And
Absolutely.
I'll end this on this. Paul Revere, none other than Paul Revere, helped her get a um, pension, military pension from the state of Massachusetts.
That's
So
wild.
because he found out about her story and everything like that, and she's also the first woman in the United States to go on a speaking tour,
Is that
a
right?
lecture tour, and talk about her experience. She
Wow.
goes on to live pretty much a full life, has children, gets married, settles down, but her military career, Deborah Sampson,
That's
American
incredible.
Revolution. So
Man, I think these were two really good choices.
absolutely, we went
Well done, sir. Well done, sir.
good
Handshakes all
stuff.
around.
Good stuff.
Well, now we've arrived at the portion of the program where either myself or Brian ask the other a question from our respective divisions. Last week, Brian asked me a question from a middle school student, which was about how I would survive World War One. We
Yes.
both said something to the effect of cowardice, something different degrees of cowardice. The question from an upper school student today
Okay,
is,
I'm ready.
who is
Oh
the
boy.
most overrated president in American
Ooh.
history? There was overrated and underrated, but I
Ooh.
like the idea of overrated.
Oh
Gonna
man.
hold the feet to the fire.
This is
Underrated,
I needed to think about that.
uh,
Overrated.
overrated president.
Overrated. Well, it's not Lincoln. He's my
No,
boy. It's
absolutely.
not Washington. He's probably solid number 2 for me.
Sure. I mean, yeah,
Over
Lincoln, Washington can't go wrong.
Overrated. You know what? This one's just sticking out for me, and it's
Oh,
controversial.
here we go.
I'm gonna go FDR. FDR
Ooh, no,
FDR
oh, it's a
gets
big shout.
FDR, and the reason why is
Oh, it's
because
a big shout.
yes, he gets a lot of attention. He does the unprecedented by having four elected to 4 terms. He
Yeah.
dies at the start of the fourth. But FDR, because yes, New Deal programs
Mm.
grew the scope of the government, but at the same time, it's World War II that gets us out of the Depression.
Yes.
And so his New Deal policies, yes, I give him credit for Social Security and those long-term reforms, and the fact that we still have the TBA and some of those programs today. But I gotta go Roosevelt. I gotta like just off the top of my
Top of,
head,
I
off the
think
top of my
with
head,
more time to think, I
yeah.
doubt you land on Roosevelt.
I don't know. I don't know. What's your pick?
Oh, I don't have to answer the question,
Yes, you
but
do. Yes, you
Undoubtedly.
do.
Fine.
You
Well,
do.
let me just say,
You
there
do.
is no way that FDR is the most overrated. I do think, and I would, when I was growing up and being taught about FDR, I think at the time he had a real kind of glossy sheen. Oh
Okay.
yeah, he served 4 terms.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't an unbelievably kind of dictatorial thing to
Eh,
do, or that yes, he saved the economy. You're right.
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
ultimately, the war the
It's
war
World
did
War
that.
II. Yeah.
But I think that the guy took over the country from abject failure of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we can say government being too big is a problem,
Mm-hmm.
but the man was needed at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
even if we take everything else out, that first term alone, just stemming the bleeding, staunching the bleeding alone of the depression means, in my view,
Now
he's not the
listen.
most
Look
over.
what he's doing.
That's
Look what he's
what am I
doing.
doing?
He's delaying his
All right,
response.
fine, fine,
We
fine.
need an answer, Josh.
Okay,
We need
well,
an answer.
I had forgotten that I have to answer this question.
Yes.
So now I need to think.
I've got one if I want to do a follow up if you
Okay.
struggle, but
Most overrated president. All right. Ooh, okay. So there's a lot of underrated presidents. Most overrated president. I'm gonna have to put it out there. No, I can't say that because I get too much hate mail. Um, I'm gonna say most overrated John F. Kennedy.
I that was that as
And
I started to talk about
yeah,
FDR, I was like John F. Kennedy, brief,
right. It was too.
couldn't even finish the first term.
It was his choice.
well,
Look at this guy.
well,
Can't even
um,
finish the first term. What are you doing?
hey,
I
don't visit Dallas.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, what?
too far, my friend. What I would say is that yes, JFK for the space that he occupies, or at least
Okay,
maybe not anymore, but the space he occupied within the American collective
yeah,
imagination,
okay,
the failure of the Bay of Pigs, yes, Cuban
big,
Missile Crisis, that was
big.
mainly his brother who got us out of the Cuban Missile Crisis. I think Kennedy's legend is just bigger than his actual body of
Okay,
work.
yeah,
In
I would
terms
have to agree.
Yeah,
I would
in
have
terms
to
of
agree.
overrated. I could also say Ronald Reagan too, but that's a time for
Yeah,
another
that's a
JFK was the first one that came to
yeah.
my mind, and just because of how big he is and how short his term was, I'm gonna have to
Okay.
say JFK. But
Maybe next time we have to do underrated because there
hmm,
are a lot of presidents that don't get the credit that they
I would
deserve.
totally agree with that.
So
Well, and there's plenty that didn't get any credit, and that's deserved. William
yes,
Henry Harrison, famously or infamously. So if you've liked what you've heard, or if you haven't liked what you've heard,
well,
please leave us some comments and leave some ideas for themes, ideas, questions, whatever you want. You want to hear us, blabber on about. We are historians. We are happy to blabber, I would
yes,
say.
yes,
And
we
notice our great props here. Shout out to Brian for bringing the props today
just decorating the studio a little bit.
in the studio. You can see our studio right here. It's not much to write home about.
This is it.
Thanks for that. Was a really good story.
It
I
was good.
appreciate
No,
that.
I really loved yours. I want to research it a
There
little
you go.
bit
And
more.
I as well.
Yeah.
So thank you all for tuning in, and we hope to see you next time here on MDF. Mostly Dead Folks. Have a good one.
Take care, guys.